This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to yield to Pastor Buckner for a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father in heaven, I come to you now in the name of Jesus. I come to you giving you thanks and calling out to you for your blessings, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to be here with this meeting, in this meeting with these city leaders in our community. And Lord, we thank you for blessing our community, blessing our city. We don't take it for granted, Lord. When communities all around our nation and around our world may be suffering in certain areas, you've blessed us, and we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Lord, we ask for your blessings tonight, specifically for this meeting. We ask for your wisdom for our city leaders. We ask for good, clear communication. And Lord, for each one of them personally, for their families, I ask God for your peace to come over them, spirit, soul, and body. Lord, we ask for your leadership during this time, Lord. We surrender to you, we submit to you, and I call out to you, Lord, for your blessings. Here in this room, around our city, let it spread through the region, our state, and our nation. We love you, Lord, and we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, we have Alderwoman Wynn joining us by telephone tonight. Alderwoman, from time to time I will check in just to make sure we haven't lost the connection. Are you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much.
All right. You now have before you a copy of the written agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda as written? Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's very unusual for me to ask for an amendment to the agenda, but there is one matter I think that is very necessitous that we accommodate, and that matter is, Mr. Mayor, under Roman numeral 5, once the Honorable Chair has recognized the Mayor and members of the board for any comments, I'm asking for the agenda to be amended so we can have comments from our Honorable Chief Administrative Officer, and I'd like to be recognized once he finished speaking. So we can add the comments from our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Taylor V. Adams, that be added to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to add under the announcement and comment section CAO comments. That would be item C. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Perkins, do you have further proposed
No,
revision?
sir, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Maynard.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Under board business, item C, I would like to move that to item A and reorder the agenda accordingly.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to change the order of board business, moving what is currently item C to item A, and item A would become B, and item B would become C. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revision?
Sorry, but I can't hear.
All right, Joel, can you check the audio? Alderman Wynn, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I can now.
All right.
You gonna put the phone back?
All right, Alderman Wynn, do you need me to repeat the proposed change?
Yes, I do, please.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to move what is currently item C under Roman numeral 10 board business to item A, and what is currently item A would be moved to item B. What is currently item B would be moved to item C. Is there any objection? Any objection? Alderman Wynn, was that an objection?
That is not, no, I concur with that, Tracy. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no objection, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revisions?
Yes, sir. Breaking out what was item A, now item B, budget needs, adding a little more specificity to those. I would like to add under Roman numeral 11K3, sanitation, discussion and consideration of RFP for garbage bag purchase and distribution. You want to take these all at once?
If they're under the same item, if they're under the same Roman numeral.
Okay. Under item,
Do you have more under Roman numeral 11K?
no,
All right, let's take just that one now.
okay.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to add the following item as 11K3. The discussion and consideration of an RFP for garbage bag purchase and distribution. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revisions?
Under 11J2, police, discussion and consideration of advertising for 2 police officers.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to add an item 11J2, the discussion and consideration of advertising for 2 police officers. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revision?
Under 11C1, courts, discussion and consideration of compensation of court administrator.
All right. The proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to add an item 11C1, the discussion and consideration of compensation of the court administrator. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revision?
Under 11H2, parks, discussion and consideration of forming a committee to review Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Master Plan proposals and recommend vendors for review by the board.
The proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to add an item 11H2, the discussion and consideration of forming a committee to review Parks and Rec comprehensive master plan proposals and recommend vendors for review by the board. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change.
Mayor, I do have a question. I was just wondering, why are we breaking protocol and adding all these agenda items tonight?
Well, a lot of these were gonna be under discussion and consideration of budget needs for City of Starkville for 2016. I was just breaking them out.
Okay.
Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revisions?
The last one under board business D, discussion and consideration of hiring senior executive administrative assistant for community development and city boards.
The proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to add item Roman numeral 10D, the discussion and consideration of hiring a senior executive administrative assistant for community development and city boards. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Maynard, do you have any further proposed revisions?
No, sir.
Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Alderman Little.
I'd like to put item 4C, item 4 in the minutes on consent.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place the consideration of the minutes of the July 28, 2015 meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney as presented on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision? Do I hear any objection? Do I hear any objection? Alderman Nguyen, do you understand what we're doing?
Exactly. He has requested to place the board minutes on consent, and I concur with that. I'm fine with that.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
Item 11, A, airport, item 1, 2, and 3 on consent.
Proposed revision by Alderman Little is to place the following items under 11A on the consent agenda. A request for approval to accept the 2015 FAA AIP grant offer 3-28-0068-020-2015 for improvement for runway safety area RSA, northeast and west side of runway and south end of RSA on George M. Bryan Airfield in the amount of $830,974 as presented. Item number 2, a request for approval to accept the MDOT matching grant for the AIP project number 3-28-0068-020-2015 for the improvement for runway safety area RSA northeast and west side of the runway to south end of RSA on George M. Bryan Airfield in the amount of $46,165 as presented. Item number 3, a request for approval to award the 2015 FAA AIP runway project 3-28-0068-020-2015 for improvement for runway safety area RSA northeast and west side of the runway to south end of RSA Phase 2 on George M. Bryan Field to the lowest and best bidder on the project, Simmons Erosion Control, in the amount of $820,663.55 as presented. Alderman Little, is it your proposal to place those matters on the consent agenda?
It is.
Do I hear any objection?
I don't have any objections if Mr. Lincoln would stand up and tell us in layman terms what's going on out there. I know I've ridden around, there's lots and lots of development going on around what is this exactly? Is this from the approachment standpoint and?
We've had 2 aircraft come in, land, and leave the runway and kind of run off in the grass area and tremendously damage the aircraft. No one was hurt, but we got all our drainage above ground and water line, all that. So what we're doing is opening up the ground, putting underground drainage in and bringing up the inlets to grade level and then bringing the guard all the way to the level so we run off. It's a smooth field, no more damage to the aircraft. And the FAA said this is a great safety thing to have, so they're funding 90% of this project last year and this year.
I'd like to publicly commend you too, because I think that y'all run an efficient operation out there, and often we get these humongous grants and just want to publicly thank you for what y'all do out there.
Thank y'all too.
Thank you.
Alderman Lincoln, the city attorney would like to ask you a question.
Mr. Lincoln, does the work contemplated by these grants, is it exclusively on property owned and operated by the city of Starkville?
Every bit of these grants are, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
Yes, sir. Continuing on under B2 planning, A and B.
Proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place the following 2 matters under 11B2 onto the consent agenda. The approval of a temporary construction easement at 115 Curtis Circle as presented, and the approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a carport replacement to a house located at 111 North Nash Street as presented. Alderman Little, is it your request to place those on the consent agenda?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
Continuing on under D, engineering, 1 and 2.
The proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place the following 2 matters under item 11D on the consent agenda. the approval of the quote from Decocrete LLC to install the Pebble Beach concrete flume in an amount of $2,815 as presented, and the approval of the quote from Groundstone Construction to install the Sportsplex bus stop in an amount of $16,750, both as presented. Alderman Little, is it your proposed revision to place those matters on the consent agenda?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revision?
Continuing on under E2,
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place item 11E2 on the consent agenda, the approval of travel for 3 deputy city clerks to the Mississippi Municipal Clerk Fall Conferences with advanced travel requested not to exceed $625 each as presented. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision?
it is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revision?
Under Fire Department 1, 2, and 3,
Proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place the following matters under Roman numeral 11F on the consent agenda. Granting the permission to allow Training Officer Tony Claiborne and Battalion Chief Stuart Byrd to attend the Training Chiefs Conference in Gulfport, Mississippi on September 30th through October 1st, 2015, with advanced travel not to exceed $880 as presented, granting permission to request firefighter turnout gear from NAFCO at a cost of $7,639.80. This amount will be paid from machine equipment as presented. The approval of allowing the fire department to issue a commercial burn permit to 4D Construction Company to burn clear debris associated with the construction project. This burn will occur on Harvey Ashford's property on Bluefield Road. Request the board to waive the $200 permit fee as presented. Alderman Little, is that your
Yes, sir.
proposed revision?
yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection?
Mayor, we've had a request to confirm that Alderman Nguyen is still in attendance.
Alderman Nguyen, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revision?
Moving on down to personnel, item 1, I1, I'd like to add that one.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Little is to add item 11I1, the authorization to hire Marissa I. Milam to fill a vacant position of Deputy Court Clerk in the Municipal Court Office as presented to the consent agenda. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
Under J, request to enter into, I'm not sure, did we renumber that one?
Still was.
Is it
We
still
added
one?
a
Okay,
two.
item J1 under PD.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place item 11J1 on the consent agenda. That is the authorization to enter into an agreement with the Justice Assistance Grant for funding of personal worn body cameras. This agreement is with a 25% match waived by the JAG office. This funding will pay for equipment in the form of 21 body cameras and 3 pieces of camera equipment. This grant is 100% reimbursable as presented. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been added to the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
K, sanitation 1 and 2.
Proposed revision from Alderman Little is to place items 11K1 and 2 on the consent agenda.
Objection to 2.
All right, Alderman Little, do you wish to modify your proposed revision?
Okay, just 1 under sanitation.
All right. The proposed revision is to place item 11K1 on the consent agenda. That is the approval to advertise for bids for the purchase of a 2015 street sweeper to be used in the city of Starkville as presented. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision?
It is.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection, any objection, any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been added to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I've got one question for Ms. Gandy. First of all, does that make you happy? What kind of time frame are we looking at going into the busiest part of our year? Is that a 2-month process from here?
Well, it would depend on how the bids
Yes, ma'am.
If we get a good bid from a vendor with the equipment already available, if they have to build it, we're looking at 3 months, 6 months.
Thank you.
Ms. Gandy, while you're here, what kind of hours of operation would you anticipate these? Are you gonna look to do some of this after 5, after 4:30?
With the new piece of equipment, we'll be able to run, both sweepers. The smallest sweeper will be concentrated in the downtown area. And what I'm hoping to receive is a 10-yard, which will allow us to cover more area in the neighborhood. So if we can't operate it and achieve what we're trying to do on normal business hours, then we will probably have to extend it or do stack hours.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one question, may I be recognized?
You may.
Ms. Gandy, what is the anticipated cost for this 2015 brand-new street sweeper?
Depending on the brand and on the model and how the bid comes in, I'm anticipating between $215,000 and $265,000.
Thank you.
Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions?
Under utilities, item L, 1, 2, and 3.
Objection to 3?
Alderman Little, do you wish to modify
Just
your
1 and 2.
proposed revision from Alderman Little is to add the following items under Roman numeral 11L to the consent agenda. That is the authorization for Starkville Utilities to place a server and supporting software at the lowest and best quote from Dell Support Ongoing Operations, and as presented in the authorization for Starkville Utilities to accept the lowest and best quote and purchase replacement relay panels for the Northeast Substation from V&S Schuler as presented on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, is that your proposed revision? Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, those matters have been placed on the consent agenda. Alderman Little, do you have further proposed revisions? Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Alderman Vaughn.
On the H Parks, move to consent.
One or both? You have 2 items. Alderman Maynard added an item.
1.
All right, the proposed revision by Alderman Vaughn is to place item 11H1 on the consent agenda. That item is approval for 4 staff, Lisa Cox, Herman Peters, William Pocup, and Kenneth Gordon to attend the Mississippi Recreation and Park Conference in Tunica, Mississippi, September 21st through 23rd, 2015, in an amount not to exceed $2,350 with advanced travel approved. Alderman Vaughn, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, it is.
Do I- All right, that will remain on the regular agenda. Alderman Vaughn, do you have further proposed revision? Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Any further proposed revisions? All right, seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised is in order.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, please respond by saying yay, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name. And as a housekeeping note, all votes must be taken by roll call tonight since we have a board member that is joining us telephonically. Please, city attorney, city clerk, remind me if I slip.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yay.
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against, this measure passes. The next matter you have before you is announcements and comments by the mayor and the members of the board. I have no announcements and comments tonight. Are there any announcements or comments by the members of the board?
Vice Mayor, may I recognize?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to my colleagues and to all of you who are here tonight. Thank you all for your presence. During the last several days, I have received a multitude of comments, feedback, concerns, statements, and inquiries from some of my constituents, taxpayers, and others regarding the very recent decision of the Board of Trustees of the Starkville Activity Hall Consolidated School District concerning the personnel action involving the superintendent. Individuals in our community are highly dissatisfied and greatly displeased with the action of the trustees relating to this recent and highly publicized personnel matter. While disappointed with the board's decision, many expressed that they were not surprised by the decision. The overall consensus of a great number of citizens in the community is that they feel that the Board of Trustees of the Starkville Consolidated School District has not been consistent in its decision-making as it relates to personnel matters. There are a number of citizens in the community who have indicated that they have lost much respect and confidence in the Board of Trustees of our school district as a result of the most recent personnel decision handed down by the board. Individuals in our community feel strongly that our Board of Trustees should be fair and consistent with all matters within its authority. For a school district to grow and be prosperous, it must have the support of its community. For the betterment of our city, county, community, and consolidated school district, it is imperative that the decisions made by the Board of Trustees are perceived as fair and unbiased, promoting what is best for all stock and stakeholders involved. In closing, I implore the Board of Trustees in their roles as public officials and public servants to make decisions that will promote a very fair, healthy, and united city, community, and school district. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I yield the floor.
Further comments by the members of the board?
Mayor, I would like to be recognized, please.
You have the floor, Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you. Council, are you present?
I am.
Council, just for public consumption, what statutory authority does the Board of Aldermen for the City of Starkville have as it relates to the removal of a board member or the Board of Trustees for the Starkville Activity Hall Consolidated School District that serves in appointed capacity?
None whatsoever.
Okay, thank you so much. I just wanted the public to be noticed on that. I have an open letter that I will be reading. It's Friday, June 26, 2015. I'm informed that a school board member has resigned from the then Starkville School Board of Trustees. A special call meeting was called
Mr. Mayor, could
and
we
held
call-
on
Mr.
Tuesday,
Mayor.
July 30th, 2015, to appoint a replacement to the Board
Alderman
of
Nguyen,
Trustees.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a device. Is the device out of the room now?
And I'm sorry,
Pardon me?
I'm sorry to
And
distract,
I
I just couldn't hear.
Just remind everybody, you are allowed to have electronic devices in the meeting, but if those devices become audible, you will be asked to leave. Alderman Nguyen, please continue.
Okay, was held on Tuesday, July 30th, 2015, to appoint a replacement to the School Board of Trustees. The makeup for the Board of Aldermen during this meeting was as follows: Alderman Carver, Alderman Little, Alderman Walker, Alderman Maynard, Alderman Vaughn was absent, Vice Mayor Perkins presided as acting mayor due to Mayor Wiseman's absence due to official city travel. The votes were as follows: to appoint Mr. Miles as a Starkville School Board trustee. Alderman Carver, Alderman Little, and Alderman Maynard voted yea for the appointment. I, Alderman Nguyen, voted nay against this appointment. Alderman Walker recused himself. Vice Mayor could not vote as he was presiding mayor, and there was not a tie vote. On July 1st, 2015, due to legislative action by the state of Mississippi, Starkville Schools and Activity Hall County Schools District became Starkville Activity Hall Consolidated School District. The first day was Monday, August 10th, 2015. On the first day of school as a consolidated school district, that is now the Educational Institute for both city and county students that attend a public educational institute. Additionally, on this date, as residents in the city of Starkville and Activity Hall County, we would learn that a personnel matter within the Starkville Activity Hall Consolidated Schools had occurred, which led to an arrest by the Activity Hall County Sheriff's Department. Later that evening, a special call meeting is scheduled by the School Board of Trustees. This meeting yielded the superintendent being placed on administrative leave with pay. On Monday, August 17, 2015, another special call meeting is called by the School Board of Trustees. No action was taken on the personnel matter. Monday, August 24th, 2015, another special call meeting is scheduled for 5 p.m. After more than an hour and a half, the board renders the following action. The superintendent will return to work on Monday, September 8th, 2015. He will not receive pay for work days of August 25th through September 7th, 2015. The following have occurred with action by the Starkville RTV Hall Consolidated District Board of Trustees, which Mr. Eddie Miles serves as president. The reputation of the school district has been compromised. The integrity of the school district has been compromised. The trust of students, staff, faculty, and residents of both city and county has been compromised. Future student disciplinary matters have been compromised. Any and all future staff and faculty disciplinary matters have been compromised. Place the school district in legal jeopardy regarding any and all staff and faculty personnel matters, both pending and future. On Monday night, August 24, 2015, during both WTVA and WCBI news accounts, School Board Member President Mr. Eddie Miles either does not possess adequate verbal skills or fails to employ adequate verbal skills to convey why the decision was rendered during the special call meeting, which was decided by him along with 2 other members of the board. It is my belief that Mr. Miles, president of the Starkville RTV Hall Consolidated School District, has failed to lead effectively in his role as board president regarding the personnel matter that was the subject of the special call meeting on Monday, August 24, 2015. I, Alderwoman Lisa Wynn, that presides as a member of the council responsible for appointments to the Starkville RTV Hall Board of Trustees, and hereby requested Mr. Miles, president of the district Board of Trustees, resign immediately. My decision for this request is a result of parents, staff, teachers, and constituents, and former employees of the district that have voiced their concerns to me. I would like to thank School Board Trustee Dr. Lee Brand, Pastor Lee Brand, for his vote of confidence for the school district's more than 5,000 students, staff, faculty, and community residents, both city and county. This evening, I have used my voice for so many whose voices may not be heard as it relates to this sensitive personnel matter that has negatively impacted our school board, school district, community, both city and county. May I yield the floor at this time?
Are there any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments from the members of the board? Alderman Carver.
I feel like we have to use this opportunity to thank the police officers and everyone that responded, both from our city, from campus, from Highway Patrol, FBI. In a sense, I guess it was a drill, and can be one of the better things that happened as long as it happened the way it did. And I think Chief's back there, but I felt I had great interest in reading his article. Maybe from a command and control aspect, you know, you're a hands-on kind of guy, and I kind of jokingly saying this, read the article, I had no doubt that you went across the drill field in your car. It was a great article, but it did kind of highlight that your hands-on, take charge kind of attitude that we know you have anyway, and your type of command. But again, just not only to the Starkville police force, but also campus. And I forever remember the picture of the female officer in the high heels and the assault rifle. But thanks for all y'all do, and I'm thankful that it turned out the way it did.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments?
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Alderman Webb.
I will be exiting the meeting after board business as I've signed up to attend a conference-related event.
All right. So we will continue to monitor and make sure you are on the line through board business. And I would ask when you are exiting the meeting, please just ask for the floor and notify us.
Thank you so much.
Any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments?
Mayor, I'd like to be recognized again after Mr. Adams finishes. He's aware of why I want to be recognized. So, yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no further board comments, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. And Vice Mayor, thank you for adding this to the agenda and for the recognition.
Yes, sir.
Last Friday, I was offered and have subsequently now accepted the opportunity to lead the procurement team at the City of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Certainly as a family, we're excited for the opportunity, but the vice mayor and board have afforded me an opportunity to just comment briefly on how much it has meant to me to have an opportunity to lead the team of professionals that serve the public in this community every day. This city is I don't know that the citizens here often understand the gift that this team is for a city of our size, and it doesn't and not just the department heads. Every member of this staff has been special to me, and I have marveled at the work that they have done in providing service to the public here on a day-to-day basis. I have enjoyed the leadership of this board. I appreciate the way that they have worked with me as I learned this role. First as the Director of Finance here, and then as the Director of Finance and Chief Administrator. As I made mistakes, they were always willing to forgive and allow me to rebuild relationships and correct those errors. Mayor, I've enjoyed working with you. Appreciate your leadership, and Vice Mayor, thank you for your wisdom and sort of constant guidance through the process. And to each alderman, thank you for like I say, the person in this job sees the difficulty that it is doing what you all do at the table, and know how much more work is involved here than happens on Tuesday nights. And I want you to know I appreciate every one of you, and have appreciated the opportunity to work with all of you. And Chris, you as well. But that's pretty much all I have. And one more thing, just a quick thank you to the citizens of Starkville who have supported us and our team and allowed us to serve you. Thank you.
All right, prior to recognizing the Vice Mayor, I'm going to make some comments of my own. Mr. Adams, you came to us almost 3 years ago, and actually in the beginning, you came to us as a volunteer. I will never forget, and I think it is an act that is an example for all of our citizens wanting to make Starkville a better place. You approaching me shortly after we had a bond referendum fail to try to build a police station, and you told me you had some experience on the procurement side. You thought it was important that the city find a way to move forward with facilities. It was at a time for me, I had just lost a bond referendum. I was in a fairly broken state with respect to that issue myself. And I will say personally, as you were offering an idea and advice, it was just the thing I needed to pick myself up and get going again. For several months, you lended volunteer support as I and members of the board had questions about how we might go about that process. And of course, ultimately, you ended up probably through that experience becoming intrigued enough with city government that you became our city clerk and our finance director and served in that role in an exemplary fashion. And were then promoted to Chief Administrative Officer, where you have served us very well for nearly 2 years now. You will have much that is a part of your legacy from your time here at the city, but I do think this is an appropriate time to note, as now at the end of Main Street, there is a facility that is in its final stages of construction. That is something for generations to come that our city will take a great amount of pride in. That facility would not be there were it not for your efforts in the early days as a volunteer, and then your efforts on the staff side. So I want to say a special word of thanks for all you did to make that a reality. And I want to thank you for all that you've done, day in, day out, as a servant, and an employee for this city for the last 2.5 years. You will be missed.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the recognition to my distinguished colleagues and to Mr. Taylor Adams. We certainly accept your resignation with regrets. You and I have had a very enjoyable, good, professional working relationship. You and I interact basically every day. There are a number of things, with my being the senior member of the board, second time as vice mayor, and you have shown very outstanding leadership. You know your job well. You have done a very good job. And I say those things because I interact with you regularly. I mean, I interact with you outside the board meetings. There are matters and things that come up where we, the mayor and board, have to make decisions collectively, and you, from things involved, make decisions based upon the totality of the facts and circumstances. As the mayor said, you've served this community and city in many capacities. You and I have worked together in your role as city clerk, finance director, and chief administrative officer. The position of chief administrative officer and as well as city clerk is not an easy job. And of course, you have to work with the dynamics of all of us. I mean, we all come from different personalities, and you have, in my opinion, done a good job in blending in with all of the members of the governing authorities and the staff. And I have attended some staff meetings. The mayor has been out of town, so as you well know, as Vice Mayor say, straight talk. I keep abreast of what goes on. Just being the senior member. I mean, that's just natural, 22 plus years. And so I would be remiss if I did not tell you personally and publicly that, certainly that you will be missed. I mean, we have to say that. We have to just be realistic with ourselves, with the leadership, and I mean, with the things that you do, with hearing from 7 aldermen, we like for you to multitask, and we always want things like yesterday. This board wants things, and we expect that, and you have done that. So certainly, I hate to see you go, but at the end of the day, as I told you or informed you, you have to do what is best for you. I mean, I don't want to be selfish about it, but you have to do what is in the best interest of Taylor Adams. But we will miss your leadership. You have done a great job for the city. I have watched your work very, very closely. I have watched how you interacted with the mayor, the board, staff members, past and present. And you have always, in my opinion, enjoyed your job and your role as chief administrative officer. So with that being said, Mr. Adams, I could talk on, and I'm going to make this motion. And of course, I've shared this with you, and I've conferred with Mr. Boyd. And this motion, Mr. Mayor, is to move approval to accept the voluntary resignation of Chief Administrative Officer Taylor V. Adams to be effective 9/17/2015, with the days of September 16 and 17, 2015 to be approved days of annual leave. Last official day of work will be September 15, 2015. With this resignation, C.O. Adams is eligible to be paid for accrued but unused annual leave in the amount of 30 days, 240 hours, as per city personnel policy 4.102 subsection 6. In addition, accrued hours of annual leave, as well as any accrued but unused hours of sick leave, will be counted as credible service for purposes of the PERS state retirement system as per city personnel policies 4.102 subsection 7 and 4.103 subsection 6. Mr. Mayor, it's reduced to writing. And, you have yours, you have this one. I got an extra one.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins. Since it has been read and reduced to writing without objection, I will not ask for it to be reread. Seeing no objection, do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Carver.
If I object, will you stay, or, I mean, if I could, I would. I'll have a comment after this.
Further discussion? Any further
Mayor
discussion?
Matthew, recognized, please.
You may.
Mr. Adams, CAO, thank you so much for all that you've done for our city. What many people don't realize, the role of a CAO is so crucial for a city, and especially the size of ours. I want to say thank you so much for your service to our city. Thank you so much to your service and your commitment to our board. But most of all, I want to thank 5 people who you have sacrificed time for them being away on travel and attending to business of the board. I want to recognize your beautiful wife, Phoenix, who is so great and has been so great and understanding in your role as CL, and those 4 precious children that you have, Taylor, Hudson, Kenzie, and Karen. And again, I wish you and your family the absolute best. Please think about us sometime. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please answer yay, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yay.
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
By a vote of 7 in favor with 0 against, this measure passes. Alderman Carver, do you not wish to be recognized?
So Mr. Adams will be here at our next board meeting.
He will.
Yes.
I'd like to propose any way we can, to maybe have a little 30-minute recognition time before the meeting, have a cake or something. I know it's not a retirement, but I want to tell you that I think also the level of professionalism that you've done through the MAGPA Association, that when times we go to conferences, you're one of those individuals that people comment on you, just letting you know. I mean, you carry high regard in most professionals' eyes that have met you, and you've been a good representative for the city of Starkville. I've never had any fear or doubt in you representing us anywhere you've gone. So if it's something I'd like to contribute that night, maybe just have a little 30 minutes before we can meet and recognize you, have a time of visit.
Mr. Adams, you will be available at 5 prior to the next meeting. We'll do it.
Thank you all.
Any further comments from the members of the board? Any further comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Good evening, my name is Alberton Ward. 7, want to recognize Vice Mayor Perkins and Alderman Vaughn.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Alvin.
I am a high-profile person, and I want to try to stay out of the orange jacket. When people look up to you, they look up to you to do what's right. When you start playing with people cheering, that's very dangerous. Like we have problems, the children not getting to school on time. They're missing breakfast. They're being taught. That's not the child's responsibility. Like we are running the bus drivers 2 and 3 routes. We run them to death. That's crying shame. But at least we got 3 lawyers on the board. Ain't nothing gonna stand up for what's right. We wondered about why Miss Poole was dismissed. Miss Wilson was dismissed. Had nothing to say about that. But this person, children are involved. 30 people in one class. That's a shame. Bus drivers running 2 and 3 routes. They're so exhausted. Only thing they can do is lay down. That's a shame. but we want to be leaders of the community. Let us try to do what's right, because as I see it now, people is at the boiling point.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Further citizen comment?
My name is Emil Lovely. In September 2013, I stood right here and asked for your support in correcting something that needed to be corrected on Long Street, where Long Street empties out into Greensboro. As of right now, nothing has been done. A lot of folks said, okay, we'll take care of it. Well, 2 years later, nothing has been done. Nothing has been taken care of. I met with my alderman, I met with the mayor, and I met with the city engineer. The city engineer took it upon himself to go by and clip the hedges at that intersection. That has been done. Talked to Alderman Maynard at the beginning of the meeting. He said, oh, some improvements have been made. Yeah, the landowner cleaned up his lot a little bit. The conditions still exist, and we want it corrected. I need some help. I need to know that this is going to be done. And I'm requesting a meeting again, Mr. Vaughn, with the mayor and the city engineer. So I want some answers. Mr. Mayor, a correction and a question. When did Main Street end where the city hall is being built? When did Main Street end there?
It turns to West Main there.
Is there 2 streets?
No, the street will be open
What I'm
once.
saying, the end of Main Street is where the city hall is
I
being
got you.
built, okay?
Sure.
Correction. Please correct that. That's my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Lovely. Further citizen comments? Any further citizen comment? Any further citizen comment? Any further citizen comment? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances, and we have one public appearance this evening by NAACP President Chris Taylor.
Yes, sir, I want to make that perfectly straight. It's NAACP and not the Democratic Party. You want to understand that. And we stand behind everything that Vice Mayor Perkins have said. He get the same calls I've been getting, probably Alderman Vaughn and everyone else. Some of you other aldermen have been receiving the same calls, but have failed to act. So, remember, on the 4th, when the next position become available, make sure that the person you select have the interests of the community and the county to their advantage, and not the supervisor over there, or the superintendent. I had a lot to say, but Vice Mayor Perkins said it all for me, so I don't have to say nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
And then, remember, that's NAACP and not Democratic Party.
All right, there are no public hearings this evening, so the next matter before you is mayor's business. It is the discussion and consideration of adopting the proposed rate progression plan effective April 1st, 2016 for the fire department, the sanitation and environmental services department, the utility department, and the street department. This matter goes back to a conversation that I had several months ago at our staff meeting. We were preparing for budget season, and I asked all of our department heads just to candidly tell me what their biggest operational needs were as we prepared for the budgetary process. There were many needs that were expressed. Most of those needs are making it in some fashion to the budget you'll be considering over the next couple of weeks. There was a sentiment that was expressed across the board by all of our department heads with field operations, and that is that they have a growing need within the ranks of their workforce, and it relates to the wage and compensation structure that we have. What was interesting to me is even though our field operations are varied, from sanitation to utilities to the street department, they do different things. the issue was common amongst all of them, and that was a twofold issue. Their supervisory pay structure is not keeping pace with market rate, and that manifests itself in a couple of ways. Either we lose someone that we've got a great deal of city resources invested in training, because once someone reaches the foreman level, we as a city have invested a great deal in professional development. Or for instance, in the fire department, we've invested a great deal more once someone achieves the highest ranks in the fire department due to the certifications that are required there. So it is their experience that we are losing supervisory level positions at a higher frequency because of market forces where comparable skills are gaining a greater rate of pay in other organizations. The second part of the concern is they need better skill development throughout the ranks of the workforce. For example, the example that was most commonly cited is a lot of times a crew has only one Class A or Class B driver's license on the crew. So if that person that's the only person with a Class A or Class B driver's license is out sick or on vacation, then it fundamentally changes everything that crew can do for as long as that individual is out. They can't operate certain pieces of equipment. They may not be able to get from one job site to another job site, depending on what equipment is needed. The other place where market forces are felt as you move up the ranks is in the applicant pool when a position is open. For example, an entry-level position, it is not uncommon for us to have over 100 qualified applicants for that position. For a supervisory level position, it is not uncommon for us to have less than 5 qualified applicants. Sometimes we do not have any applicants that meet the minimum qualifications because the skill level that we are asking for, we are not paying what the market would typically support. So in that case, what happens is we compromise on the skills that are required for the job, or the position is open for long periods of time, and that poses a critical issue in field operations because middle management is what makes everything function. So if you have long periods where a position is not filled, or you have somebody that's going to require an extensive amount of on-the-job training to be able to perform at a satisfactory level in that position, you are crippling the entire operation. So what I asked our department heads to do that were in that situation is to get together with the personnel officer and see if they could come up with a program that would address those needs. Now, I've gone through exercises like this on multiple occasions over the last 6 years. A lot of times it just doesn't work out that well, particularly when you're dealing with multiple departments because multiple departments have different perspectives. In this case, it worked very, very well. What they came up with is the proposal for the skills program that you have before you. You can see that it has objective areas where skills can be gained that will be helpful to the organization and are tied directly to compensation. Among other things, it ensures that every full-time benefits eligible employee of the city would earn at least $10 an hour. Now that, to me, is a moral issue. The $10 an hour standard is a standard that you've already committed to in 2017. I want it to be a part of this program because I believe it's important if anybody puts in an honest day's work for the city of Starkville, for them to have the assurance that they can feed their family. at the end of the day. So the first thing this does is it sets the $10 an hour minimum standard for full-time benefits eligible city employees. Then after that, it provides incentives incrementally for skill development throughout our ranks. It provides small steps that set our employees on a path of incremental development that are tied to opportunities for pay increase once skill mastery is demonstrated. Finally, it culminates with rates at the supervisory level after someone has incrementally moved through the program, or if we're going out into the market to get somebody in a supervisory level. It culminates with rates that are competitive, that will allow us to effectively recruit and retain the talent that's necessary for us to do the job in the field. So I do view this as something that would be a comprehensive step forward, not only in terms of the opportunities that would be offered to our employees for higher pay, greater skills, and greater job satisfaction. And I also think it's something that will make us a lot more effective in our field exercises. Now, the cost of the program. I am proposing that we start this program April 1st of this year. So we would absorb half of the cost of the program this year, and then we would have to absorb the other half of the cost of the program in next year's budget. I do think this is the ideal time to do it because every employee of the city is getting a 3% pay increase this year. I do think if you were to execute a targeted program like this, it's going to have to be a year when all city employees are getting a substantial increase in pay, and that's the situation that we have this year. So the cost of this program would be $90,000 to the general fund, $36,000 to sanitation, and $21,000 to water and sewer. Now, I would like for you to adopt this tonight. I am quite confident, having been elbows deep in the budget draft, that we can fund this. We can comfortably fund it with the other mandates that you desire to meet this year. And I think the program is good, and it would result in tangible progress for the departments that are affected by it, and better opportunities for our employees. In the alternative, if you're not ready to adopt it tonight, the most important thing, and the reason it has to be discussed tonight, is getting it in the budget so we can consider it further. So I will offer an alternative, and that is to authorize me to present a balanced budget with the cost of this program included. Again, I have analyzed the numbers enough and our position with remaining items that have to be reconciled in our budget that I'm quite confident I can get you a budgetary product that you are satisfied with that includes the cost of this program beginning April 1 in it. And you can take a look at it as the budget as a whole with the cost of this program in it. If you don't like it, take it out of the budget at that time and we'll scrap it. What I would propose doing if we go this route is rather than putting this in all of the salary lines in our budget, I would propose just putting a budget line with the amount that it will cost each of those funds in the budget to start with. And then, if you do like it, adopt the budget with those funds set aside for this program. And if you want to make sure you're comfortable with how the program would work and work on the mechanics a little bit, you've got from October 1st to April 1st to do that before the program would be fully implemented. But the important thing and the point of no return for tonight is getting it placed in the budget. And so that is my request for you. But my full request for you is to go ahead and adopt it And I say that with full confidence, that this does work, it would be an improvement, and you're not going to have to make any major budgetary compromises that you're otherwise unsatisfied with. With that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Alderman Carter.
Thank you for that. You and I spoke about this today, and some of my reservations with this, the fact that we did say, and I was on board for that, by 2017 to get all of our lower paid employees up to $10 an hour. The figures that I saw in our e-packet were mostly to $10.50. I don't know where that discussion came from and where that data came from. I feel more comfortable with $10. And you say, oh, that's only $1 difference on an hour for a lot of employees, but that is a lot of money for the city. And that is a pretty substantial jump when you throw in upwards of $3,500 for some employees to $5,000 pay raises, on top of a budget year that we're going to have a 3% across the board raise. I did like the fact that you said it was, I'm going to get these figures right, 90,000 from the general fund, 36 from sanitation, and 21 from utilities. Is that correct? And I think we'll have to put this out there, but you're saying this could be essentially paid for if Regions Insurance gets provided tonight. That's where you're seeing this cost savings come from?
One place. I've got a list of loose ends that have to be tied up before you have a final budget, and we're revenue positive on those loose ends. In some cases, you'll see more expense. In some cases, you'll see more revenue. Without going through each of those loose ends, I can tell you that I've seen enough of the budgetary picture that I'm confident, without eliminating anything that's going to be very important to the board, that we can do this and do it on a sustainable budget model as well. And that's where, if you take me up on my alternative proposal, what I would propose doing is getting you that budgetary product, not putting all of these increases in the salary lines where you can't find them. I'll just put a $90,000 line in the general budget, a $36,000 line in the sanitation budget, and a $21,000 line in the water and sewer budget. That way you can take a look at it in the context of the entire budget, whether your priorities are being met, and if you are not satisfied, just remove those from the budget prior to passage.
Okay. Secondly, being honest, in the data that I saw, I felt like the fire department was well laid out and well put together. It had everybody's name, how much they made, $9.53 an hour, and what it took to get them to the $10.50 mark. The sergeants and battalion chief, everybody was listed. Some of the other departments weren't as informative, and if some of them were even listed just names and what they made, and that was pretty much it. Which I'm fine with that, but I would like to see some kind of list of where everybody's listed and what it takes, real dollars. Secondly, I don't feel comfortable voting on this because theoretically I don't see how we can pay for it. I assume I know how it works, and I would think that we're paying for it with the cost savings if Regions were to be the lowest and best bid and get awarded tonight. So I would like to see the agenda reordered and have this come after the discussion on the next item, because I kind of think that it depends on the discussion on the insurance.
Let me address your issues on the spreadsheet. That is by no means a completed product. Now the dollar amount information is accurate. That was included in your packet by error. It was one of the documents I got from the personnel officer that was included with the actual summary of the skills program. That's a worksheet, and while I am confident the numbers are precise, before you go all the way to adoption on the program, that certainly has to be cleaned up in a manner where it's easy to understand. And also, as it relates to how some employees were in at 10.50, you may have even seen some at 11. It relates to where they are currently on the skills development chart with respect to a firefighter, for instance. What this does is it gives a firefighter a 3-level path to gain skills and pay incentives before they have to be promoted to gain more pay incentives. Right now they don't have that. So an entry-level firefighter would be hired at $10 an hour. which is more than an entry-level firefighter comes in.
noticed that.
And then when they pass the first part of their certification includes the academy and EMT certification. So when they pass either of those, they move up to 1050. And then when they become a fully certified firefighter by passing the second part of their certification, whether it be academy, EMT, they're up to $11. And then at that point, they have to be promoted to sergeant before they receive their next pay increase that would be associated with an increase in skills.
I noticed there were a lot of, in the supervisor capacity positions, there were a lot of people that weren't getting a pay increase other than their, across the board pay, but, maybe y'all can speak to that, but is that something that we need to address as well, or from a morale standpoint, I guess they understand that I guess they're later hires, and from that, they're getting paid more than somebody that's doing the same duties on another shift?
Yeah, it all depends on the level of skill that their current position would be tied to, and their level of mastery of those skills. In some cases, somebody's still got an opportunity to master additional skills and get an additional pay incentive. But the program as a whole, it does not address every single employee of the city, because it is targeted towards this specific need with our field operations. Now, it addresses approximately 115 employees, which is close to half, and that's where you hit on the point that's very important to me. In order to do this, you need to do it in a year where we're doing an across-the-board pay increase for all employees, because I think were we to attempt this where only 115 employees would be affected by a change in pay in a year where there was no across-the-board pay increase, I think it could cause deep morale issues. In this case, I am comfortable for anybody that has an issue with how this would be allocated, explaining why we've done what we've done, and also being able to say, hey, you got a 3% pay increase this year, and that is a substantial pay increase.
I understand that in talking to our city employees, but also I'd like to hear from Alderman Maynard on, I think from a budgetary standpoint, it'd probably be the hardest year to do this, wouldn't it? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I guess the other question that we don't have in the figures is the advancements. So the figures we have right now presented are just the figures for the pay increase. So we don't have budgeted in there if an employee gets to another level of advancement and gets a pay increase. That's not in the current numbers that you're looking at.
But I think you're going to have a complete budget, because each of those gates that would now be available for skills development has a 6-month period. So we're adopting a budget 6 months into the year. If someone advances as quickly as possible to the next gate, typically they've got to be in that position for 6 months before they're eligible to advance to the next gate.
Can I ask, in layman terms, what you're saying is somebody is you're worried about the people that get advanced between now and the start date of the program, which is April 1st, 2016, and then the mayor is, in response, is saying that very few people it will affect because you've got to be in, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, once you get to the next level of skills development, part of your requirement to advance to the level of skills development beyond that is to have satisfactory performance for 6 months. So if somebody's moving as fast as they can, you can't move to the next step prior to being in that position for 6 months.
So in that situation, you're talking about a person or two?
If there is any difference in cost, I think it would be very minimal.
From a budgetary standpoint, it's a big chunk from where I sit. We looked at this and we voted on approving this over a period of 3 years to get to that $10 an hour. And this is going beyond that. I think everybody at this table wants advancement opportunities. Everybody at this table wants training opportunities. Alderman Vaughn and I spent countless hours talking about we need to train our employees and not just put a test in front of them and make them pass it. We need to train them and get them the skills and abilities they need, and we all want competitive pay and fair pay. I would prefer us take this under advisement and really look at the numbers as opposed to making a decision tonight, but that's my opinion. This is a big chunk right on the heels of putting together a budget. If the mayor's right and the money's there, then the money will be there 2 months from now, 3 months from now. We have a chance to really look deep into it and get the figures that are there, and still be able to, if the money's there, meet the April 1 deadline to begin that process. I disagree, I think, with the mayor, and I understand where he's coming from. I think if we adopt this to begin in the 16-17 budget, all the city employees know up front we're adopting this to begin in the 16-17 budget, and there may not be other across-the-board pay increases next year for everybody. But as a whole, we're trying to better the city and put the city in a better position. Whenever we adopt it, we're gonna face that issue, because as people advance in the progression of this process, some are gonna be getting pay raises while others don't. So that's always gonna be there. If you're asking me if I'm for this proposal, I'm 100% for it. I think it alleviates a lot of the issues and concerns that we've had, specifically in fire, but really across the board. Do I think we're in a budgetary position to make a decision on it tonight? I think we'd be better served to take it under advisement and really come back and know exactly where it's gonna fit into the process.
And all I'm asking for is an opportunity to present you a budget that shows you what it looks like with this in there. And at that point in time, if you are not comfortable with the budget, take it out of the budget. But if you go ahead and you create your budget without this in there, the prospect of changing your budget mid-year to accommodate it is slim and none. So I'm not asking you to do anything that's irreversible tonight. I would just ask for the opportunity to give you a look so you can see it in context of all of the other things that are important to you. You can look and see if the budgetary numbers are sound, and if you're not comfortable with it, then certainly at that point you can take it out. You can say you want to study it further, and if there's a way to do it throughout the year, or maybe revisit it at that time. But once we put a budget together, it's balanced and it doesn't have this in there, I think the odds are slim and none that we get it there this year. And I think it will help you as you go through the process if you're interested in doing it next year, because you will have a budget built with half of this in it this year. So you'll only have to take the other half of the steps next year to do it. I do have grave concern, even if you don't do this program, if we wait all the way until 2017, because you've set a mandate that everybody's going to be at $10 an hour in 2017, and I do think that's important. But we've also got $540,000 for capital improvements that have to go back into the budget in 2017. And if you were to add a program or something similar to it on top of it, you've got a mandate that could be between $750,000 and $1 million for 2017. What I would recommend doing is start making progress on the program now. Take a small step this year and then completely implement it. And then by the time we get to 2017, you no longer have that as a new budgetary mandate to contend with. But again, I understand skepticism, and giving you what I've given you tonight, it is completely understandable. If you want to just take a look at it in the budget, that's all I'm asking for. Give me an opportunity to show you what it looks like in the context of a whole budget, And if you don't like it, you think it's unsustainable, you think you've compromised something that you didn't want to compromise in the budget, take it out and say, let's consider it next year. Alderman Little.
On that 90,000 you mentioned from the general fund, is that just for the 6 months funding?
6 months. Yeah.
So next fall, that would be 180 from the general
That's
fund.
correct.
That's pretty significant. I like the concept. I like the merit-based raises. I like dealing with the salary compression issues that we've been facing for some time now. And I don't know how many it affects of these firemen out here. There's probably some that have been here longer than somebody under you that they've been hired on and making more. Is that the case out there with any of you? Raise your hand if it is. So there's somebody that's been hired on with less experience and seniority and making more than what you're making. See, that's a morale issue there, and that's something that's going on now that we do need to address. We've got a budget that I've had here for about a week, and I'm sure it's evolved over the last 7 days since I've reviewed it. We've got a lot to discuss, and I think it would be premature to make a decision on this right now without getting into this budget a little bit deeper. But I do like the concept, and I think it needs to be addressed, and for these guys and the other ones it impacts. I just don't know that we're ready to act on it at this moment.
And I'm not asking you to act. I'm not asking you to make a decision. I'm just asking you to look at a draft of the budget that would have the cost of the program in it. And I will format it in a way that is very, very easy, so you don't have to chase numbers all around the budget. You can see big, round line items, and they can be easily removed. That's all I'm asking for.
Before I yield, that's just a big number to hit, I think, again, next year and annually. I think we've got 85,000 that we spent on due diligence for renovation district that we took from the general fund that still needs to be paid back.
It's paid.
Has it been paid back?
Isn't that correct?
Is it? But
We paid it.
the bill's
We paid
been,
it, but
the bill's been paid, that's right,
Correct.
but we took it from the general fund, unbudgeted.
that is correct.
So we're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it just concerns me that we may be biting off more than we can chew. And I want to do everything we can to help these guys and everyone else that works for the city. But I want to be realistic too, and I'm just concerned this late in the budget cycle, when it's due in the next meeting, to jump off into that.
I can tell you, earlier this week, I got a reconciliation of our cash position from our accountant, going all the way back to September 30th, which is the last audit that you had for your ending fund balance. And our cash position with the $87,000 is still sound. The draft budget you have has our cash position budgeted at $1.4 million. Our auditor says that is an extremely conservative number. I'm confident by keeping that number at $1.4 million, which probably reflects a good bit less cash than we actually have, that we can still fund this program. And again, all I'm asking is for an opportunity to show you what that looks like. I just want a chance to show you. Ask me any question you have, dissect it, criticize it, and if you don't like it, I completely understand. But give me an opportunity to show you what it looks like and how we can make this improvement in how we do things.
May I be recognized, Mr. Mayor?
You may.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. After much discussion at the table here, I think I'm ready to vote on this thing, but before we vote, I want to say I concur with the budget chair on his remarks and the gentleman from 3. This is late in the day. By law, we're required to adopt a budget in 14 calendar days. And this is the first I've seen and heard of this proposal. According to the Chief Administrative Officer, this is going to cost $180,000 a year. Now, let me say for the record here, I have no problem, if the monies are available, supporting employees. We've had a lengthy discussion at this table over the past several weeks about the minimum amount that we should pay employees within a certain time period. This board, at a very recent meeting, agreed to pay all employees at least $10 an hour effective July 1, 2017. So that is already in place. At this point in time, for us to sit here tonight and say, yes, we'll do this, and just to be really honest about it, this board has not had the first true budget session. So why rush into this tonight? We need time to study this. Now, just because we take it under advisement does not mean we're against it. There are capital improvement issues that are going to be coming up. And anything that we do tonight is going to seriously impact that. Here we have, this board has voted to give a 3% pay raise for all city employees citywide, effective October 1, 2015. Commendable, very commendable in light of our financial affairs. Employees going to be getting anniversary raises, and so, I think, it would be acting very hasty. The mayor, in great respect to our honorable mayor, nothing personal, but just a business decision. The mayor said he's been involved with this budget, elbow into the budget or arm length into the budget. But the rest of us, I know the vice mayor has not had that opportunity to do that. I think the only real discussion that we've had significantly at this table is the outside contribution. So, we get this on September the 1st. This is so important. Why are we being requested in great respect, nothing personal? Why are we being, with an attempt to strong arm us into passing this tonight? As the budget chair has correctly said, he's studied this budget. He's been with this budget more than, in my opinion, than any other board member here tonight. So let's take our time. Let's make sure the numbers here. I'm not against this. I voted for the proposal, and it may have been unanimous vote, I don't remember, but it's a strong majority, if not a unanimous vote, to pay all city employees at least $10 an hour effective July 1, 2017. The reason that came about, and it came with the strong support of the budget chair, because he wanted to make sure that there was no budgetary restraints on our budget. Now, I haven't had the benefit of this, of course, of seeing the budget, but we need to make sure conservatively that we have the proper financial means to do this. Of course, there's been mention about the vendors and the monies. We can say that's good, but we have other needs that we got to do. But I move, Mr. Mayor, that we take this matter under advisement for further study and analysis.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to take the consideration of adopting the proposed rate progression plan effective April 1st, 2016 for the Fire Department, the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department, the Utilities Department, and the Street Department as presented under advisement. Alderman Perkins, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Perkins, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Walker.
I'd just like to say that I agree with the vice mayor on a lot of what he said in terms of we haven't seen the budget yet, not till recently, and it is due statutorily in 2 weeks. With that being said, I would be very supportive of the mayor's alternative to bring us that next budget with this included, just so we can make a decision or not, because I haven't seen the budget other than what was presented, what Alderman Little has at the end of last week. Because at the end of the day, when we look at it again, we can either reject that or we can move on if the finances are in order. But I think it's right, is the only thing we've really acted on is the outside appropriations, and I think this would be an appropriate time to put all the marbles on the table and see where they roll, and if it stacks out where it makes good financial sense to do it, starting April 1st, 16, I could be supportive. If it turns out that those numbers don't support that, then we look back at what our other options would be. So at this point, I see no reason to eliminate this from the table without giving it its full just due.
Further discussion, Alderman Carver, did I see your hand?
Yes, sir. I might differ a little bit. My greatest concern is where the $10.50 came from, and yeah, it's only 50 cents an hour, but if a city employs 2,100 to 3,000 hours on a job, that can make a significant significant difference in our budget. And, you know, where did the 1050 come from versus the 10 that?
It's skills progression. You mean as opposed to, in the other departments, it goes 10, 25, 10, 50?
I didn't see any $10 minimum pays on there. Everything I saw started at 1050 for the labor, you know, for the entry force, and then went up from there. But
If that's in fire, what that means is that's a person that has completed either their EMT training or the academy. So if a firefighter hires in and they don't have either part of their certification complete, they'll hire in at 10. If you didn't see anybody that was listed at 10, that would mean we don't currently have a firefighter that hasn't completed either EMT or academy certification. Now, when that person completes the second part of their certification, they'll go from 1050 to 11. But remember, this is the only, other than longevity, this is the only opportunity for pay advancement that a firefighter has until they promote to sergeant. So it provides further incentive to get through certification, which of course is of great value to the city that we then have a certified firefighter.
okay, thank you. I like the way that you did present it. I like the way that you said, you know, we can't adjust that. I won't vote for it now. I think that if we put this agenda item after the discussion of naming a benefit administrator and agent of record, that I'd feel more comfortable voting for it. If we could try that, I know we've already got a motion on the floor, but I think throughout the conversation today, I mean, I realize that is a chunk of, you know, that's a considerable, I mean, I think it has to be a considerable point taken of how this will be, you know, financed, but because if we were to vote on this right now and then it passed, and then you know, I have no idea what's going to happen in the next discussion, but I feel much more comfortable if we could reorder the agenda and at least vote on it at that point, but may not get there.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please answer yea, nay, or abstain when the city clerk calls your name on Alderman Perkins' motion.
Alderman Carver.
Yay.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yay.
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Nay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
By a vote of 6 in favor with 1 against, this measure passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of naming a benefit administrator and agent of record for life, health, and accident insurance services for the city of Starkville.
May I be ready?
Discussion. Alderman Maynard.
Mayor, I move approval of awarding the benefit services administration contract to Regions. That the mayor be authorized to sign any and all documentation related to this award following the review and approval of this contract by the city attorney, and move that open enrollment occur at the time agreed upon by the agent and city administration.
Alderman Maynard, do you have that reduced to writing?
Yes, sir.
Could you pass it forward to the clerk? The motion has been read. It has been reduced to writing. Without objection, I will not ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Only to say, I think the city staff did a good job of reviewing those. Regions was clearly the highest scored and the most cost-effective option that we had available to us, and I think we're prudent in choosing them.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further? Alderman Vaughn.
Mr. Ball, when you say it's our deadline that we got to get all this done? When it's the deadline that we got to get all this done and get everybody ready?
Our new plan is going into effect October 1 to get open enrollment completed. We need to be in open enrollment by mid-September. We need to be underway with open enrollment, then complete open enrollment, preferably no later than the 20th, but I would say September.
Thank you.
do open enrollment, we've got to have time to prepare materials and get all of that. So we're at our decisions on it.
Thank you.
Alderman Perkins.
Mayor, let me say very briefly here, I voted for the integrity group for the #1 choice for this particular matter, and that left 3 vendors, and of course all the vendors did a good job, and one of the vendors failed to, in my opinion, to submit a price, and I did not find that very favorable. But with the remaining 3 vendors, certainly there's no way we can get the integrity group given the lay of the land now. But with the remaining 3 vendors, I'm going to support the motion on the table, and that is for the regions group. That's what I'm going to support.
Further discussion. Alderman Carter.
I also supported the integrity group from the aspect that we often hear to shop local. And there was a couple questions we asked y'all that night that if you were going to have a presence here in Starkville. I know y'all have a presence in the banking industry, but I would, and y'all did an exceptional job from the start. That was probably my biggest hiccup in the whole process was a local office, because we do have a lot of guys that and ladies that may not be too tech savvy and may not want to get on a computer to do their benefits. And then post the discussion the other night, I had lots and lots of people call me from both sides of the discussion that said, you know what, people don't probably go down and talk to y'all much more other than the open enrollment period. And that was a thought that I just had to digest and think about it. But I would also like to ask y'all if you could to maybe put just somebody here. A lot of these guys like to get off at 3:34 and they've made a claim the month prior and just want to go down there and see a face-to-face transaction. If y'all could maybe at some point throughout the year, if it's not an everyday 8 to 5 individual, but to have somebody that we can say, hey, if you got an issue, go down there and see John Doe at Regions. But I was very impressed with y'all from the start, but that was the reason I voted, the reason I did. And thank y'all for sticking through this process from the beginning. And I'll be in support of you as well tonight.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please respond by saying yay, nay, or abstain to the city clerk on Alderman Maynard's motion.
Alderman Carter.
Yeah.
Alderman Nguyen.
Nay?
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Vaughn.
Yay.
By a vote of 6 in favor with 1 against, this measure passes. The next matter before you is a discussion and consideration of the budget needs for the city of Starkville in fiscal year 2016. Alderman Maynard?
Excuse me, Mayor. I'm going to have to be excused at this time. I have another engagement regarding the Brownville conference tonight.
All right, we will excuse Alderman Nguyen, and I'll ask the city clerk to let the minutes reflect that Alderman Nguyen exited the meeting after the discussion of a benefit administrator. Thank you, Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you so much.
Alderman Maynard.
Yes, sir, Mayor. We actually split out most of those items for discussion into individual motions, but I do want to thank the city clerk for, as you get a copy of the budget or you've seen a copy of the budget, you can see the bond proceeds have been split out for what the individual awards have and what they still have available in remaining. So that's easy to follow, as well as the individual projects that we indicated in the bonds are also individually placed out there so that everybody can see those. There's not a lot of new items in the budget. It's pretty standard budget from what it was last year. Not a lot of variation in that. We have included the money for the comprehensive plan that we'd already passed and approved. There's additional money to finish the Lynn Lane project and other projects in there. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it in detail, please do so. And city clerk, I'm sure, can have copies available for anybody that wants copies.
Any further discussion? Alderman Little.
I would like to talk publicly a little bit about it. I understand some things that were added recently since I got this one, just to kind of let everyone know. I texted Rook earlier today as to the software that we've talked about the last couple of years on the budgeting process and their needs to go paperless and store this information. And I understand that has been added. Is that correct? Under IT?
It was in your original.
Under IT, but I was looking under court, so, that's what I just wanted confirmation on that. Mr. Rook, is that gonna help your department greatly? I'm glad that worked out. And as far as the, annexation study, we're gonna have money?
Now that's an ad after probably the copy you're looking at.
Okay. I don't feel that that's gonna be acted upon by this board, but possibly the next board, we can get a study done and have it teed up for the next board to address.
To clarify that, it's $20,000 for PDD to look at if we annexed areas outside the city limits, how would that affect ad valorem? Not acting on it, not planning this board on any annexation, but having that teed up for the next board to take a look at.
Mr. CEO, as far as the revenue streams, were your estimates pretty conservative?
Well, sure, we always, the way that we've always tried to build a budget is with conservative estimates of revenue, but fairly ambitious expense projections. And so far that has served us well, and I think that's what you would find in this budget as well. We are projecting some revenue growth, but it is modest. It may not look modest based on last year's projections, but that's it's modest when you compare it to what we've actually collected this year. Our mill has grown dramatically. Certainly, we are seeing the benefit in sales tax collection of the Barnes Crossing dealership on Highway 12. We know that we have another new car dealership that will be operating in the community before the end of the year, with another flag to follow that one. So yes, I feel that you're dealing with very conservative revenue estimates. Now, one thing to note in there, where I think that we could have been potentially more ambitious on sales tax, based on what we've currently collected. We know that we have 2 TIFs out there that are gonna fund at some point. And so we just didn't want to push that number up too high because we know that there are going to be bonds that roll on related to those sites. And
do you have a copy in front of you, or?
I do not.
I had one question on the auto tax ad valorem. It's staying the same the budget amount from last year and this year, and it went up about 40 the year before. Is there any particular reason that wouldn't be going up?
We think it could go up, but we think that that's more reflective of a difference in the way that information is being reported to us from the tax assessor's office. If you look, those amounts are steadily growing year in, but then all of us, if you look back 2 years, we did not hit that number. We've left it constant, but when we look at our overall tax collection, particularly the top line there for ad valorem, and when you look at prior year, without sitting down with the tax assessor, our best guess we can come up with is that he's maybe doing a little better job of pursuing past debt, or that it's being reclassified as straight ad valorem tax, because the total numbers are still growing in the same, but we're seeing a difference in distribution. And when you look at the growth that we had last year in particular in straight ad valorem, it's well beyond what we had projected in our best case experience. It also was the reassessment year, so some of that's been gobbled up in that. But we believe that is more just a restating of the way that they're sending us money.
Okay.
There are also 2 new police officers in this budget.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And this may be really kind of pity pat, but back on the cemetery repairs and maintenance, that's running about $15,000 a year, and it back from we're going down on the budget amount. Is there any particular reason on that?
Those are restricted revenue amounts. A lot of those plots are pre-bought, and as they get used,
Okay. We hadn't had a budget meeting, so forgive me.
yeah, no, that's fine, that's.
And I've got highlighted here that the Innovation District payment of 85,167.67 that we're gonna need to get paid back. The internal, let's see, the Montgomery and Louisville signal project, I know that's coming from the engineering department soon. We dropped that from 200 to 185. Is that gonna be for the initial study, the $15,000 difference? What is that, why did that drop?
Is that Montgomery Street?
Well, Montgomery, South Montgomery and Louisville.
I think
Signal,
it was
is that the signal
originally
project?
I think it was originally 185.
We spent 15 on the initial.
It says
study.
200, and then next year it drops to 185, so I was just
I think,
questioning.
and Edward is not here, but remembering right, I think that we've spent 15 of the 200, and the 185 is what's remaining to be spent on that effort. If Edward was here, he could confirm that for us, and I apologize for not knowing right off the top of my head, but I know that we have pre-funded some expense related to that project, and it's in 15, I think is about what that was. So, and most of Edward's lines where you're gonna see differences are, particularly as it relates to the bond issue and other things, Edward did a great breakdown of what is remaining in each of those lines, including the discretionary lines for each
I was about to
ward.
comment, I appreciate that.
And, yeah, he worked really hard on that, did a great job. I know that was a help to both Lisa and me. But so, without him being here, that's about as close as I can get, but I feel like that's gonna be the answer.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman Maynard, you're not asking for action on that.
No.
All right, the next matter before you is a discussion and consideration of setting a public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2016 budget and 2016 tax millage rate. Alderman Maynard.
Yes, sir. Mayor, I have a motion to set public hearings on Tuesday, September 8th, which is next Tuesday, at 5:30 PM, and Tuesday, September 15th, at 5:30 PM, for the proposed adoption of a resolution setting the city of Starkville tax levy at 21.98 mils, which is the same as it is for this year, for the fiscal year 2015-2016, and for the fiscal year 2016 budget in accordance with the requirements of Mississippi Code 2739-203 and 2135-5. The summary budget will be posted on the website prior to the first public hearing, and I've reduced that in writing and will pass it to the clerk.
Motion has been read and reduced to writing without objection. I will not ask for it to be reread. Do I hear a second?
Public hearing.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
City attorney's asked to be recognized.
Alderman Maynard, just for record purposes, I know you and I worked on these public hearings today, and just to give the board the benefit of our discussion, the public hearing on September 8th will be solely related to the budget, correct?
Correct.
And the public hearing on the 15th is solely related to the millage,
Correct.
because those are separate and distinct.
Right.
And so, with publication for the millage, that publication will go out this week and next week with the public hearing on the 15th, and the city can act on the millage after that public hearing on the 15th.
Correct.
And then the budget will also be published this week, along with publication of the public hearing for the 8th. That public hearing will occur on the 8th, and then the board can act on the 15th on the budget, correct?
Correct. City clerk.
Thank you.
Budget itself is not able to be published until September 30th in the paper.
The statute that controls is 2135-5, and it calls that the budget be published in the newspaper at least one time in the month of September. It makes sense for me to publish that as soon as possible to give the public hearing meaning, because if the public hasn't gotten the opportunity to see the budget, then the public hearing isn't worth what it could be.
So you're saying as a practical matter, you would recommend that, but as a legal matter, it doesn't have to be published till the end of September?
That's what the statute says, correct?
Right. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? asked for a vote on this yet? No. Seeing none, do we have to do roll call anymore?
No.
All right, all those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 6 in favor with 0 against, this measure passes. The next matter before you is the discussion and consideration of hiring a senior executive administrative assistant for community development and city boards. Discussion.
May I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Mayor, the personnel officer today interviewed candidates, and in light of that, I would like to go ahead and push forward his recommendation. The reason for bringing this up at the table tonight is so that this individual can begin working with Mr. Adams prior to Mr. Adams' departure. So that they can get up to speed as quickly as they can and get some valuable information from him prior to them leaving. So with that, based on Mr. Boyd's recommendation, I move approval to hire Tammy Carlisle to fill the position of Senior Executive Administrative Assistant for Community Development and City Boards as presented, subject to 1-year probationary period.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the hire of Tammy R. Carlisle to fill the position of Senior Executive Administrative Assistant for the Community Development and City Boards, subject to a 1-year probationary period as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
With one amendment, that'd be a grade 10, starting salary at $38,480.
All right, and you did read the whole description?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want it to work? The description is including 3% salary increase effective October 1st. Is that the way you intend for this to function?
Yes, sir.
All right. The motion by Alderman Maynard is to authorize the hire of Tammy R. Carlisle to fill the position of Senior Executive Administrative Assistant for Community Development and City Boards at a grade 10 with a starting salary of $38,480, and an additional 3% beginning October 1st, 2015, subject to a 1-year probationary period. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Walker.
I just have a question for you, Mr. Boyd. How many people, how many applicants do we have, and how many interviews were conducted?
There were, and I apologize, I didn't bring the full list, but there were approximately, I think, 32 or so applicants. There were only 2 that we felt met the qualification. Of those, there was only 1 that had any prior experience dealing with municipal boards and matters that would relate to the subject matter.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Alderman Vaughn.
Did I hear you right? Out of 32, you only had 2?
2 that met the level of qualification set forth in the
Further discussion. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4, or wait, is it 3? Oh, okay. By vote, so the vote stands at 3 in favor with 3 against. I will break the tie. I vote in favor. I vote yay. So the measure passes by a vote of 3 in favor, 3 against, with the mayor breaking the tie. The next matter before you is The discussion and consideration of compensation of the court administrator. Discussion.
May I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Mayor, we discussed this previously by recommendation of the city attorney. He asked that this be made in a public setting. With that, based on his excellent work history and looking at the Stennis report to get him up to a more competitive level, I make a motion to increase Mr. Tony Rooks, the court administrator, salary from $51,596.49 to $56,674 effective October 1st, 2015.
Do you have that reduced to writing?
I do.
All right, the motion has been read, it's been reduced to writing without objection. I won't ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion.
That is October 1st.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes. The next matter before you is a request for approval of the claims docket.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the claims docket to the city of Starkville for all departments, including the electric department, as of August 28, 2015, for fiscal year ending September 30, 2015, as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Did I look at that? Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the
Yes.
merits? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, and I have Perkins and Vaughn against, this motion passes. The next matter before you is a request for approval to use fleet car fuel service agreement off the state contract. Are you gonna introduce this one? All right, Mr. Adams will introduce this one.
Board, we're bringing this forward. Fleet Corps is what some of you may know as Fuel Man. It's a bulk fuel service provider. It's available on the state it is the state approved service for public entities to utilize. We're bringing this forward really just to tee up a conversation on the state of our current fuel facility. We're at the point where we at the very least need to do some exploration and have our tanks serviced, or have someone come and give us a quote to determine if servicing would work to deal with the sediment at the bottom of our tank. Potentially could, given the age of our tanks, require that they be replaced. We don't really know yet. We put this out there as sort of an intermediary option for you to consider as a road forward. I would say on the staff side, we're of course comfortable with whatever you all decide, but like I say, we've got to take some action at our bulk facility. Advantages to Fuel Man, it gives us better reporting. We're hearing on the back end of this that many of the jobbers in the area can give us the same level of data. But that information has come in recently enough that I've not had a chance to run all of that to ground for you. But as it relates to this item, like I say, we know that some action has to be taken, and this was a means for starting the conversation.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
Just so this item is coming up because we're having problems with our vehicles because of sediment being in the vehicles and they're not functioning properly, and we've
That's it.
identified that as coming from our source tank.
That's correct. This probably has something to do with why police take a alternate, have been utilizing alternate means for a while, but yes, there's an adequate amount or a sufficient amount of sediment in our tank now, that if we get much below a certain level, that gets into fuel, it starts clogging things up, it creates other issues. So, as it relates to what the solution is here, I would get way out of my depth here to even guess, but we could we're finding that there is a company that we could come out that could do that assessment. If it's the board's will that we do that assessment, and then get a quote as to what it means to, what it would mean to either repair that or worst case scenario replace, we're open to do that, but we presented this because it was a zero cost solution.
Alderman Little.
The DEQ or EPA, no one's deemed these as hazardous to the environment. We've said
No.
we can't use them.
Not at all, no, sir.
Just from the little checking I've done the last few days on it, there are services out there, and I've got some names that I can provide you guys. Having these serviced and cleaned, all the sediment, probably about $1,500 a tank.
Sure.
And there are also card reader companies that we can attach one of those deals that can give us the reports and data from our own tanks. I think when you start talking about bringing some of these big trucks over to the Shell station, particularly the one over on Academy in Louisville, that are busy with foot traffic. You know, these big trucks running in and out. I think what maybe some savings we may realize, I don't know, that we're putting ourselves into a risk, possibly bumping into somebody of these big trucks or a pedestrian or something along those lines. We need to factor that in. I think there's also some value to having our own pumps. We witnessed it firsthand during Katrina, and we were handicapped, and we're beg, borrow, steal gas when that came through. And that's something when, you know, ice storm hits, power outages, we can access, we have our fuel. That's not gonna keep our folks from out hitting the roads when they should be. And that's something I think we need to be mindful of, not just throw this out. I think right now we're bidding out those tanks when we get them filled, each time.
That's right.
And we're getting my understanding, a really good rate, just a little bit above cost, rack price.
We think so. Obviously, we don't know the vendor's margins, but certainly we believe that we're getting a good price.
Well, I've heard several things about Fuel Man too, and a lot of that,
Sure.
you don't know what you're getting because rack price in Vicksburg's not when we're getting it out of Aberdeen or somewhere. So it's not all what, I'm just throwing that out there. We need to consider all that before we jump out and do away with those tanks. But they can be cleaned and serviced and.
Yeah, like I said, we're open to whichever direction the board wants to go. We just, to tee up the conversation, we wanted to present a zero-cost solution before we pursued anything else. Having said that, if it's the board's will that we take a step back and take a more global look at dealing with our existing structure, we're happy to do that.
Are you guys not getting the reports right now from our own tanks? Do we have a card reader out there that generates these reports?
We do have we have a card reader. It gives us data as it relates to fuel usage within specific vehicles. One of the things that we would like to have is individual user reporting. So regardless, right now we have cards that are tied to vehicles. What we would like is the ability to tie usage not to a vehicle but to an individual, so that we know who's in which truck. We've heard this board say that you want us to do a better job of managing this fleet. So we like the idea of having individual PIN codes that are tied to a user, so that anytime that vehicle is gassed, or fueled, we can track it by a user group as opposed to just the vehicle itself. We do believe that there is some abuse in the pool, but we just don't have the means of adequately laying our hands on it right now. Having said that, certainly there are vendor solutions out there that in maintaining our bulk facility that would allow us that same feature. Again, that's just not something that we have pursued as yet, but certainly if that's the board's will, certainly we are happy to pursue that.
I think we really need to think it through before we just jump out there and make a change like that, because I know the county and the other, some other folks around have agreements and in a catastrophe situation, they're gonna be able to get gas. And I would hate to be pushed to the bottom of the stack because we've got a Fuel Man card and don't have access. So that's just something to think about.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion on that matter? Do we have a motion, Ben?
No.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, The next matter before you is a discussion and consideration of forming a committee to review Parks and Rec comprehensive master plan. Oh, I'm sorry, that one didn't get placed on consent. Request for approval for four staff, Lisa Cox, Herman Peters, William Pocup, and Kenneth Gordon to attend the Mississippi Recreation and Park Conference in Tunica, Mississippi, September 21st through the 23rd, in an amount not to exceed $2,350 with advance travel approved. Discussion. Y'all don't all jump in at once. Any discussion on this matter?
Mayor, I make a motion to deny this time.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to deny the request for four staff, Lisa Cox, Herman Peters, William Pocup, and Kenneth Gordon to attend the Mississippi Recreation and Park Conference in Tunica, Mississippi, September 21st through the 23rd, 2015, an amount not to exceed $2,350 with advance travel approved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merit? I'll speak to this briefly, and that is, I think your staff in Parks and Recreation needs opportunities for professional development. And this is not an expensive opportunity for professional development. Not only is there an opportunity for the professional development course material, but it's a relatively low-cost opportunity for them to travel as a group, which also provides an opportunity for some team building. I think this request needs to be approved, and I urge you not to deny it. Discussion. Alderman Carter.
Whether or not this motion fails tonight, we'd have, I'd like to ask Mr. Poach to stand up and tell us. I think in our discussions earlier this week, you said that you are not only president of the, what association?
It's chairman of the MRPA Awards Committee.
What is that?
It's the awards that award to Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 awards for award of merit for special events, programming, sports programming.
I know, and you're also up for an award, Professional of the Year, right, with that association?
Yes.
And from my understanding that you and Ms. Cox are both scheduled speakers for this conference. Is that true? Okay, thank you. So, you know, either way, I think two of them, they're scheduled speakers. I would feel more comfortable for the two that they're got to go anyway. I'd feel more comfortable to, if this fails, to make another motion. I'm not sure on the not to exceed amount, but it can be adjusted to
I'd take
compensate.
your, as a friendly amendment for those two to go.
Should it have a not to exceed amount on it? Or just, can I make a motion?
But sure.
I'll tell you what, let's take that vote first, and then I'll come back and make a second motion.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman Vaughn.
It's puzzling me why the director can't go. Is he the director? It's puzzling me why the director cannot attend the meeting. I can see the maintenance not going, but the director, it's puzzling me. That's unfair. That's injustice. And by him being on probation, have we ever allowed other members to take trips being on probation? But I can't see why we gonna let them go and the director don't go. Somebody answer that question for me, please.
Alderman Walker.
I agree with Alderman Vaughn. My initial thought coming in here was to allow two people to go. And having heard now that two of those people are actually going to be speaking at this, I think it would be a good exercise. I would certainly be in support of sending Ms. Cox, Mr. Peters, and Mr. Poca.
And they do have over $6,000 the last time I checked in their travel line. This is the last month of the fiscal year, so it's not a monetary issue. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion to deny the request, please respond by raising your hand. All those opposed, please respond by raising your hand. Vote is 3 in favor, 3 against. I will break the tie, voting against. Motion fails. Back into discussion on the matter as a whole.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of 4 staff, Lisa Cox, Herman Peters, William Pocup, and Kenneth Gordon, to attend the Mississippi Recreation and Park Conference in Tunica, Mississippi, September 21st to the 23rd, 2015, in an amount not to exceed $2,350 with advance travel approved as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Just for all 4 of the named individuals? to
It
go?
is.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. The vote is 3 in favor, 3 against. I vote yea. The motion passes with 3 in favor, 3 against, and the mayor breaking. The next matter before you is the discussion and consideration of forming a committee to review Parks and Rec comprehensive master plan proposals and recommend vendors for review by the board. Discussion.
Be recognized.
You may.
Mayor, I move to allow Alderman Jason Walker, Buddy Sanders, Herman Peters, and Daniel Havlin to serve as a committee to review the proposals and select the top 2 candidates to have those firms presented at the next board meeting.
Do you have the
Official
reduced
board
writing?
meeting, 15th. Yes.
Motion has been read, it's been reduced to writing. Without objection, I will not ask for it to be reread. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of advertising for 2 police officers. Discussion. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the advertisement for 2 new police officer positions. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter before you is the request for approval to remove items from inventory to declare said items surplus property and to authorize the sale of surplus property. Discussion.
May I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Cannon, will you come down, please? And while you're making your way down, let me start this conversation. Have you found that 1998 truck that had a brand new motor, as I understand, and a brand new transmission?
No.
Okay, now, nothing personal, you know, the vice mayor is strictly business. It just happened to come up tonight. So there are 20 items that you're asking us to take off inventory, to declare surplus and to sell. And 14 of those items are vehicles or trucks. Now, tell me, what is your plan? If we were to do this tonight, do you plan to come back at a subsequent meeting and ask us for authority to buy some vehicle? Because your workforce is not shrinking, is that correct?
That is correct.
So what are your plans
That would be the plan. The vehicles that are listed on this list are vehicles that have been donated to us, or vehicles that we pulled out of the grass that were there before I got there, that have been, some of them may have already been removed from inventory. I'm not sure, but we had all of the vehicles that were not operable, that were at the sanitation department or at the complex, removed from the property to the landfill. And they've been there for over a year. Now, some of them may have been removed from inventory and declared surplus property by some of the other departments. But why they have been out there? because we did not have vehicles. We've taken the majority of the parts that we can to fix on what we're using now. So
So-
they were inoperable, and they were not being used.
So none of those 14 vehicles, you say you plan to come back and ask us to buy some more vehicles. Of course, you know, we just bought 2 0-tons mowers. We just bought a 10-foot bush hog. We're gonna be spending $215,000 and $265,000 on a street sweeper. Look like we're spending our money before we get in the bank. Now, let me just say this, and I'm just talking citywide. I mean, and I'm getting tired of all this traveling and buying these new vehicles. I'm just getting sick and tired of all this traveling. Whoever want to travel, we need to learn all we can and sit down some. That's old school talk. And I'm tired of all these high rates here from the sanitation. If we keep coming here asking for rates, I'm gonna make a motion. I have to stand up by myself to look at a study to analyze privatizing the whole department, including all management positions. I'm that tired of it. We're losing accounts with commercial accounts. We're losing these accounts. We've increased the sanitation rates by $1 since this term, from $13.50 to $14.50. We've gone from $14.50 to $15.25. And I know Tupelo is charging, I think, Mr. Adams, they're privatizing their sanitation for residential, right?
I think they already have, Vice
I
President.
know, I mean, they have waste
Oh,
management.
yes, sir. Yes, they have waste management.
And I'm not encouraging that, I'm not encouraging that, but if we keep increasing these costs for this department, we're gonna be able to outsource the whole department. I mean, we just can't continue to do that. I mean, it seemed like some of these vehicles, 92, 93, 94, 95, 98, and I'm not a mechanic, but it seemed like some of these things can be fixed. I mean, everybody can't, and this goes to citywide, everybody can't drive a new vehicle, a 2015 or 2014. Some of these things, can any of these things be fixed, Ms. Candy?
Vice Mayor, the majority of, like I said, the majority of the vehicles that come from my department are the 92s, and those were the vehicles from landscaping. Landscaping had 92 and 95 vehicles. And those vehicles, we replaced parts. I've spent thousands of dollars on those vehicles, on just trying to get them operable. What we're driving now, what landscaping is using now are sanitation vehicles, because they don't have any. Now, if the sale results in enough fund to purchase vehicle, then yes. I'm not saying that we're gonna purchase 16 vehicles, because I don't think the sale would generate that. But I would like to, if the sale generated enough funds to purchase a vehicle, I would like to use that fund to purchase a vehicle.
Ms. Candy, I think, and the board may approve of this, but and I have the right to speak. But let me say this to you. We need to try to fix whatever vehicles we can. We got a very large list with 20 items, 14 vehicles, and then, as you just have admitted, then you're gonna be back here and asking us to buy some more vehicles. I mean, we just, all we do around here, just not your department, just spend, travel, spend, travel, spend, travel. So let's try to get some of these vehicles fixed. I mean, I'm from old school. I mean, let's try to fix, everybody can't ride around here in a vehicle that got all these amenities in it, maybe a radio and CD, whatever they have in it. Let's get some vehicles. I mean, these should be work vehicles. They may not be able to get fixed, but this is strictly business. I represent the taxpayers, and the taxpayers saying let's make do with what we got, and that seemed like a lot to me. I'm not a mechanic. I hadn't analyzed this, and I'm sorry it has come up, but you brought the list. I didn't send for it. It made its way into my packet. I mean, nothing personal, strictly business. But it may pass. I'm gonna vote against it. But let's make sure, and this goes to everybody, when we come back here with some surplus vehicle, make sure these vehicles don't work. If it requires a starter, let's do it. And we got a missing truck. I hadn't even gotten a report on this stolen truck. I don't know how in the world a 1998 truck can make its way from a public city barn that belongs to the city of Starkville. We haven't found the truck yet. I mean, there's something that's so mysterious about that truck. We don't have a truck. It's missing. Brand new motor. brand-new transmission. And here we are tonight asking to declare surplus items, sell the items, and then next board meeting on the 15th or whenever, we're gonna be asked to buy some more trucks. Now, we done bought enough items for this department. We done bought a street sweeper. We've approved it tonight, a street sweeper. Been real nice to you. And hopefully we're not gonna be looking at more rate increases. Because if we do, I'm gonna give you my word. I'm gonna make a motion to do analysis to privatize these services. You can take that to the bank. I may be by myself, but you know the vice mayor, my 22 plus years, if I give you tell you something, that's what's gonna happen. I may be outvoted 6-1, that's fine. That's how democracy works. But nothing personal, again, that comes with the job of being a leader. So, you know, we appreciate your service, but yet at the same time, I just don't think that's a good idea to declare surplus 20 items. That's a bit much. I've reviewed the list, and this is nothing I thought about impromptu since I've been here tonight. But this is just a bit too many items, and I think we can send some of these things. I don't know what it may need, a starter or engine or some tires or something to make it go. I mean, you know, that's all we need. We just need to get around. Landscape should be able to use some of this stuff. All they got to do is go around from site to site and get the work done. So I think this is a bad request to bring to this board, and it may pass 6-1. My feelings not hurt, but I just wanted to let you know what the vice mayor thinks. We need to cut the cost down on these enterprise fund, because we just really pricing ourselves out of a department, and we're losing commercial accounts, and that's a bit much. We're losing some big accounts. And so, and if we keep going up in higher, $15, we just went up on small businesses, $5 more a month, from 20 to 25. I mean, this is not a good business friendly environment. So for all these reasons, I'm against this, and it'll probably pass. But again, my job is not to count the votes. My job is to represent my constituents and others in this city. So just want to say that. And hopefully that in the future we'll do what we can to make these vehicles work. And Miss Gandy, I'm about to say Mr. Adam, but he's on his way out. But I was gonna let him know at the staff meeting. But he's getting to leave us to make sure these departments citywide know that we need to try to keep all the inventory we can. Because you heard the budget here tonight. This is a tight budget. You know, got so many things that are taking up the budget. Pay raises and this and that, and you know, we got a lot of infrastructure issues to take care of. We got just so many other things that we got to get done. We just don't have a lot of money to work with. So, and I'm against all these high costs or these garbage rates and all this kind of stuff and all this high expensive travel. And I hope all these employees who are going to travel, they're going to learn something, and they need to start giving a report when they come back to the city. I yield the floor.
Ms. Gandy, did you file an insurance claim on the 1998 truck?
Yes, we did.
What is the status of that claim?
We received the money this past week.
Okay, so it has been paid. Ms. Gandy, of all of the items that you have listed for sale, are there any items that you are currently using in your operation?
No.
Are there any items you have used within the last year in your operation?
No.
Right. I can't speak to the condition of each individual item. I do know that we have a department head that thinks they are no longer usable. They are not being used in the operation. We don't need to keep a junkyard of surplus city property. It's time to get whatever value we can of these materials and move on.
So move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the removal of items from inventory, to declare said items surplus property, and to authorize the sale of surplus property as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Get them out of my there.
Further discussion. Alderman Carter.
Of the vehicles that you said you're gonna be coming forth with us to ask for purchase, what are you having in mind? And I know it's not replacing any of these, obviously, so just to know what's coming.
If we generate enough funds, it would be a truck for landscaping. Probably a heavy-duty truck that will,
You say pickup truck? or-
pickup truck, yes.
Pickup. And y'all's loader is out this week as well?
The loader is out, we received some contaminated fuel from our tanks, and it clogged up the fuel lines and what have you. They've been working on it. It's also the reason why we went down on one of our garbage trucks. We actually had 2 of our garbage trucks contaminated as well, so we did get some bad fuel out of our tank, contaminants in our fuel.
And it's coming back out of the shop tomorrow, correct?
He has assured us that it will be.
Okay.
Alderman Little.
Mr. CEO, could you see to it that, get the ball rolling on getting these tanks
Absolutely.
cleaned, getting prices and moving that forward so this doesn't happen again?
Absolutely.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Alderman Vaughn's motion, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand by a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against. All right, one more time. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Raise them high so I can see them. All those opposed, by a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against. This measure passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of an RFP for garbage bag purchase and distribution. Discussion. Alderman Mayor.
Yes. We had, several months ago, Waste Pro came and did a presentation where they would distribute the garbage bags for us through retail outlets. And I thought that was a good option. It essentially would save us about $30,000 and get us out of the distribution and garbage bag business, which may be a bonus as well. Because of the size of their proposal, though, we can't just adopt their proposal. So I would like to make a motion that we issue an RFP for solutions related to the purchase and disbursement of garbage bags for residential use and recycling, and that the city staff shall develop a specification that ensures at a minimum the size and the quality are consistent with what we're currently using, so that we could take that RFP, have it come forward for our consideration. We can choose a vendor and have that vendor start first of the year with garbage bag distribution as the students and residents are coming back after
Hold
the
on,
Christmas
Alderman.
break.
Let me get the motion first.
Okay, so the motion is, motion to issue RFP for solutions related to the purchase and disbursement of garbage bags for residential use and recycling. And the city staff shall develop specifications for that RFP to ensure at a minimum the size and quality are consistent with the current program. I have reduced that in writing.
Without objection, I want to ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
I just think this is another opportunity for us to save additional resources in sanitation, so.
Further discussion. Alderman Walker.
Question of clarification. I too think this is a great idea. I think as we're looking at the budget, as we're getting, reducing certain things down every year, I think this is an opportunity to help not have to increase rates in sanitation by looking at ways to make strategic cuts of, again, materials that maybe aren't being used as effectively. The question is, so this budget, this go round, we're still gonna budget 170, is that the last figure that I saw for bags?
The Waste Pro proposal initially was under that. If his comes in under, then
But by the
short
time-
answer, yes.
So we would be looking to budget 170 for this year, get this request for proposal out there, knowing whenever that would hit, and with the idea of it being under that 170, that ultimately we're gonna be in for this half a year or
Right.
whatever the case might be, right?
Yep.
Okay.
This gonna be done through Waste Pro.
We gotta start putting the RFP out to see.
See what we're gonna get.
Right.
Any further discussion? Alderman Carver.
How much does it cost to distribute the bags? I heard that figure, but is that correct?
Last year, we spent, right at 140, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 140 for a 9-month supply. The year supply, came in at about 172, I think. That was
Just
for
in overtime pay?
No, that's just
No,
cost.
this is for the
of
bags, it's not to
cost.
disperse the
That's
bags,
not
it's just for the bags.
distribution.
It
You-
doesn't
you get
include
into-
the storage or placing it storefront.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Thank you, Ms. Candy. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the rate change amendment between the City of Starkville and TVA. This is a pass-through from TVA. Their motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the rate change amendment between the City of Starkville and TVA as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merit?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Alderman Carver, is it up? All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes.
I was
And-
for Mayor.
You were for that? All right, one more time. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, this measure passes. All right, that concludes the open session portion of your agenda. To my knowledge, you do not have any matters for your potential consideration in executive session. If somebody knows otherwise,
I got one, Mayor.
all right.
Oh, man, you just up and go home.
Motion, do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to go into closed session to determine whether there's need for an executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the matter? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Yeah, this time I'll ask the